Jake Paul is now fighting Gervonta Davis. What an absolute farce boxing has become. Let's get into this because I've always been a big critic of these kind of exhibition fights that we've seen, and Jake Paul getting, and we shouldn't be taking this seriously. But unfortunately, the industry is taking it seriously. And for one, they've been to and froing with this AJ fight with Jake Paul. That's fallen through now because of rights to do with the broadcast rights. Obviously, AJ is going to be with DAZN, and then Jake Paul, going to be with Netflix or wherever he wants to try and sell his fight to. But it's not even fights; they're exhibition fights, right? There's been always strong rumours that these fights have been rigged anyway. There's contractual clauses in his opponents; they couldn't do certain things, or that they had to be handicapped in inverted commas in some way. So there's talk of him just trying to go with AJ, and he's doing it just to get clout, just to get clicks, just to keep himself relevant, right? Then he's gone off there. He couldn't get that fight, so there's always this thing about Gervonta Davis. Now, for me, there are two things here. First of all, it's going to be an exhibition fight. It's not going to be a pro fight because obviously, Gervonta Davis is a 135 fighter, whereas Jake Paul is classed as a cruiserweight boxer. He's not any of that. He's nowhere near the level to get in with these kind of guys, their level, but also the weight difference. He can never be sanctioned. So it's going to have to be it is going to be an exhibition fight. But for me, in this regard, I actually hold Gervonta Davis accountable here, and I think he should be penalised because he kind of I won't say ducks opponents, but he kind of does. He doesn't fight as regularly as he should. For me, he lost his fight against Roach, wasn't it? There should be a rematch there. He should be ordered to make that rematch or fight other game opponents. If you're okay to fight an exhibition fight with a cruiserweight, then you're okay to fight for your title or unify the division or do whatever you're going to do. But you just want to do it. You just want us to go for the money. So for me, fine. If you want to go for the money, that's fine with this Jake Paul fight. Then we're going to strip you of the title. So for me, this is where I'm at with it. Strip him of the title, this Gervonta Davis, and let's see what's what. Let's see what is more important to you. Do you want to be the world title holder? Do you want to be in the pound for pound number 10 list of the Ring magazine? Or do you want to go and fight fake Jake Paul? I mean, it's as simple as that for me. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous that, we're kind of talking about this in the same breath. I mean, in many ways, the whole Jake Paul thing has been a complete farce. But also, everybody's been saying, or I've been saying, certainly saying, well, look, fine, if you're going to take this sport seriously, that's great, very commendable. And there's lots of things that you have done in boxing that is good. But you're still learning your trade. You're still learning to be a boxer, right? And certainly in the professional rankings. So be a professional. Learn your craft. Get better fights. Fights are within your own age group or within your own talent pool, with your own weight division. And he just hasn't done that. Box boxers, not washed-up MMA fighters, not 58-year-olds, ex-world champions, not somebody who's over the hill or anything like that. It's just ridiculous, the kind of matchups that's been made. And also the time and energy that's been spent in reporting on this stuff. And I can't even... I'm making this video because it's less about Jake Paul. I don't care about him at all because he's never proven anything to me that he's a proper boxer, and he's taking this seriously. Because if he was taking it seriously, he would be taking it seriously in terms of the kinds of opponents that he wants to have. But if he just wants to run it like a circus, some kind of, I don't know. fixed fights, exhibition fights, then fine, but don't expect me to take it seriously. Don't come out and keep on coming out with this stuff. And he's going to be found out, sooner or later he's going to be found out. Part of me was hoping that they would get the AJ fight on, or, I want AJ to retire so we can just go in there legitimately and, knock him clean out. That's what we're all looking for. But this Gervonta Davis thing is an interesting one, because actually I don't lay the blame at Jake Paul. I lay the blame at Gervonta Davis for going after it, entertaining it, accepting it, and then just almost disrespecting the sport that has made you who you are. You should be defending your title. You should be trying to unify the other bouts. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think there's a bit of a problem now with boxing. We've had Turkey Al-Sheikh and the Saudis come in, and we were thinking, well, are we really going to get all the fights that we really want to see? And yes, to a certain degree we have, but then let's just say in the heavyweight division, but also I want to say like the American fight cards, you're not really getting that many American fight cards with top billing. It's, there have been slow periods over here as well, and around Europe. There haven't been many top bill fight cards, and we were expecting, I don't know, maybe it's a false expectation. We're kind of thinking, hey, no, we're going to get lots and lots of fight cards, some great events, some great undercards, that kind of thing. And then the Saudi fight cards, the Riyadh season fight cards, it's just going to be banger after banger after banger. And it's just kind of dwindled off a little bit. Yeah, you're still getting some headline fights, but it's dwindling off a little bit. Even the Moses Atoma against Dillian White, for me, that wasn't a headline fight, really, when you think about it. Because you think about this logically. It's a 12-fight prospect against a 37-year-old who's proven to be, washed up. Now you could say, okay, fine, it could be a headline fight, but maybe in not that arena. So it was overhyped for me for what that was. Granted, okay, fine. The undercard was pretty decent though. But if we look at the heavyweight division in itself, actually we got to a situation now where Turkey Al-Sheikh has created a bit of a situation, well, not him so much, but the promoters and the boxers, they're all waiting for this big payout, and they're not fighting each other. Within the heavyweight division, there's loads of fights that could be made. You should be able to have a monthly or a bi-monthly big fight card just for heavyweights, really, or certainly have 2 or 3 heavyweights on the fight card, or at least 1 or 2 heavyweights on the fight card, and they should be going on every month and should be fighting all over the world, but they're not. It's sort of stagnating. They're all trying to line themselves up to get into Usyk. Then they're thinking, well, who's the next one? Like the Moses Atoma coming up as well, and nobody's fighting each other. And it's just poor. Obviously we got some big fights coming up. Okay, Canelo Alvarez against Crawford, of course. Ben Eubank, that's going to be a good scrap to get the juices flowing as well. We've got some other Riyadh season fight cards coming up, but it's almost like it's sort of stopped again, and you want it to be re-energized, and it's almost like that. Turkey Al-Sheikh is more concerned about getting, the click name into a fight card rather than getting these big boxers who've spent their whole life boxing in with a ring. If you're a real fan, you'd want to see these boxers get in a ring and just work it all out. But no, he's more interested in trying to get Moses Atoma in with Usyk, and just it's holding up the whole division. Why don't you just get everybody start fighting each other? Let's just have a battle royale of just a few boxing events and just get all these heavyweights, get all these cruiserweights, get all these white divisions. Just don't hold everything up. Just fight each other. And if you can't fight for injury, if you can't fight because you want to have some time off, fine. Then get somebody else in. There's definitely the opportunity there. There was the opportunity when we just started to click together and we were getting these big fight cards. You think, wow. But after those 2 or 3 fight cards, 4 fight cards, it seems to have dwindled off a little bit. And I think, if that's happening, then this is why we're giving more air to these nonsense fights especially like Jake Paul, or the notion that AJ would go and fight Jake Paul, where he should really be focusing on his professional career and trying to get back in, with, the top 10 heavyweights in the world, and maybe getting himself back into a world title position, not fighting the likes of Jake Paul. Gervonta Davis should be defending his title, or he should be unifying his division. He should not be fighting Jake Paul. The sanctioning bodies need to say, we're not going to sanction this, and the athletic commissions in the United States should say, no, actually, we're not going to do this. And if they do, everybody says, no, of course we want to do it, and Netflix want to hand out the millions and say, yeah, we'll do that, fine. Then the boxing commission and for whoever's got the champions bout or holds the champion bout, whichever champion you're talking about, if they don't want to defend that and they'd rather go and do an exhibition, they should be immediately stripped. We're always talking about Usyk, where he's unifying the division, then and this happened with Crawford. It happens to all any kind of undisputed, that all of a sudden you get one of the bouts saying, no, you've got to vacate the bout because you're not able to defend it. Well, Gervonta Davis, he's not able to defend it because he's not going to defend it, right? Everybody's calling for the rematch against Roach. Then do that, or fight somebody else, but do that. Fight within your weight division. But this is just nonsense fighting for me, and it's almost like it's really taking the edge off boxing recently. And you kind of start to, peer in behind the curtain. You kind of think, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? You kind of look at the promoters, Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn as well. This whole thing with Boxer as well. When is that going to kick off with the BBC? It would be great just to have, every 2 weeks a really decent fight card, but televised fight cards that everybody who's really into boxing can watch on a regular basis. It's always been a little bit sporadic recently, and the quality of the boxing cards hasn't been that great, especially for the Riyadh season ones earlier this year. You're hoping that when it comes around sort of September, October time, when they kick those off again, that we can do it. And I'm not sure whether the ring fight cards have kind of overtaken in people's minds the Riyadh season fight cards. I hope that isn't the case. And you want great fights to be made, and there's too many boxers that have got the handout now. There are too many boxers who want the big payday, as opposed to accepting decent money, fantastic money, more than they would ever got before. But now they're all saying, no, we want even more. And because they're waiting for even more money, wanting even more money, or trying to negotiate even more money, nobody's fighting each other, or not the fights that you really want to see. And this is no more so than in the heavyweight division. There are so many boxers out there, so many boxers with all the bouts. 4 main bouts. Okay, you take another, the IBO as well. And then you've got all these Eastern European fighters out there. There's so many out there, and matchups could be made all the time. They're not being made. There's a problem there. As I say, peering behind the curtain, you wonder what the hell is going on behind the scenes. And Turkey Al-Sheikh, I say, I'm starting to get a little bit disappointed with what has been going on there. We were promised the great fights, the big fights, and we were told this is what we want to see it, and it's almost like it's become a bit of political there as well. And you think, well, if you want to have this money, if you want to have these big fight cards, then make the boxers fight. That's it. Make the boxers fight, or don't put on boxing cards that people are not really going to be interested in, or don't let it just just fade away. If you need to kind of regain that big urgency. And look, we are getting some big fights, but we thought we were going to get all of it, and not in a situation where divisions are being held up because boxers aren't fighting each other. Look at Joseph Parker, who's hardly fought. In the Cabial, who's hardly fought as well. So they got to that number one position, the interim champion positions. They haven't fought since. And it's just, I know a lot of it, especially for Joseph Parker, it's not his own making as well, because Daniel Dubois pulled out, of course, and then Martin Piccoli went in as well. I know we've had Usyk against Dubois as well, but this is like just one fight. When you've got other heavyweights happening, but it's not happening on a regular basis. And I think you should be seeing a lot more of it. We should be seeing a lot more high-profile fighters in the ring, as opposed to just standing off, because we're not talking about one or two that can only fight. There are hundreds and hundreds around the world that could make great fight cards, and they're just not being made. Instead, we've got this nonsense with Jake Paul against Gervonta Davis, which they've just announced. And I will nail my colours to the mast here. I will not be watching this nonsense. Not interested in it whatsoever. I won't be making videos about it. I won't be doing anything. Then again, who knows? I probably will, especially if Gervonta Davis actually goes off script and knocks his block off. I mean, yeah, that'd be something to report. But I don't even want to talk about this nonsense, but I'd rather talk about the state of the boxing situation, where you kind of, they're paying this a lot of lip service. The likes of the pundits and the ex-boxers, they're talking about as if it's proper fights. This is not proper fight. Jake Paul against Mike Tyson wasn't proper fighting, and it was just painful and ridiculous to watch. And, my advice to anybody is don't put your money here. Don't put your money anywhere near this. And let this be a lesson to anybody else. Exhibition fights, I listened to Dave Allen the other day talk about it. Exhibition fights should be for retired boxers who just want to get in the ring, have a little dance around, size each other up, and just want to have one last hurrah. That's about it. Not for active fighters. You should not be doing exhibition fights. If you're good enough to get into an exhibition ring, you're good enough to actually do a proper fight. And that's where I'm at it. So Gervonta Davis, strip his title from him. If you want to fight Jake Paul, that's it. Strip your title. You're not world champion anymore. AJ, you should be going anywhere near entertaining Jake Paul, because you haven't retired. You should be still going for your world titles. You should be fighting heavyweights that can actually match up to you, not just a crappy cruiserweight who's no good for anything. Let us know your thoughts, but that's my rant over. What an absolute farce it's been in the boxing world. Looking forward to upcoming fight cards, of course I am, but that's proper boxing. That's actually matching fighter against fighter. They could be, we want 50-50 fights, right? This is just nonsense. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. But I'm sure there are going to be lots of other people who are pro this, lots of people who are going to be as anti about it as I am, and just let us know. But right, rant over. If you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos, and I'll catch you again. Bye now.